Episode 13 already, the finale for Season 1. It feels like yesterday I started this series, and here we are closing off one of 5 seasons. So this storm is, well, freezing over the Whispering Woods. There was a lot of clouds and lightning, but I don't see much snow around here, and that freezing was occurring really fast. Plus we got the gang up in the sky, which should be frigid up there, but they don't seem to be looking cold, so I don't really get that. And it's not just that either, as Scorpia puts it.
Tidal waves, firestorms, earthquakes.
I mean, the characters do verbally acknowledge the Whispering Woods is freezing, but I don't see that much visually to telegraph the how part because it happens extremely fast. The careful balance that was said to exist last episode is destabilized, and now we are shown the consequences for it. This is probably happening so fast so Catra's new objective can come to pass now and we don't have to wait for a time skip. Because Entraptor says empowering the Black Garnet weakens other rune stones, and to make that permanent requires breaking one. And with the Whispering Woods no longer a barrier, the Horde can march on Bright Moon. And boy oh boy is finally hitting the Rebellion's heart an opportunity Catra is not gonna pass up on. And everyone at Bright Moon is more than aware of this.
Our scouts reported sighting the entire Horde army in the woods.
And have a pretty good idea as to the Horde's objective.
If the Moonstone is destroyed, there will be nothing left to stop the darkness.
But with the Princess Alliance having ended with everyone else secluding themselves, they're only backed up by Spinnerella and Natasa. You know, those background characters that were in Ep 4 and a Princess Prom. I really like how the show took these two complete side characters and gave them personality and some involvement within the story. They don't commit to their own until season 5, but I have enjoyed just spying them in the background at times.
We're not really sure what they do.
Net. Tassa? Nets. I toss nets, okay?
What the heck is even elemental about nets? The princesses with magic are said to have elemental powers, but what is up with them breaking this idea constantly? Glimmer has
Sparkles.
and her runestone is the Moonstone. What is glittery about the moon? The writers might as well have never bothered with this idea that runestones gave quote-unquote elemental powers, because it's clear by the character names the writers were more focused on just making puns.
Not only are you without your powers, but you're still glitching. It's too dangerous.
We also have Angela being quite reasonable in her concern for Glimmer. Like, this isn't Angela reseeding what she's told Glimmer before. An army is coming and her daughter lacks her main ability, and she occasionally has to stop to have what I can only assume is a full body cramp. This is different than letting her head out into the woods with Bo to fight Adora, and Angela's concern is entirely justified here. Adora also pitches in, saying she doesn't want anyone to get hurt, quote-unquote, because of her, because she still has this growing hero complex, even if Bo makes the rightful argument that She-ra cannot take on a whole army by herself.
Then what good is she?
When Adora says that, I really think she is just referring to herself here. The power that She-ra brings, they've really begun to define what Adora's purpose is. Even though we've had scenes where you think Adora learns that her power is coming short is okay so long as her friends are there. But it's not just the idea of failing at this pivotal moment of vulnerability at the heart of the rebellion that's eating away at her, but the wound inflicted by Catra during Promise. Adora knows her old friend's going to lead this assault, and Adora blames herself for Catra's actions.
I thought I could get through to her, but all I did was push her farther to the side of evil.
And still agrees with Lighthope and says that being here has only created problems and that everything is her fault. And while Glimmer and Bo are here to give her much needed moral support, neither of them actually disabuses Adora of this notion, which shall have problems further down the road. Glimmer takes everyone to her secret weapons hall, everyone needs a hobby I guess, where Angela shows up.
Did you really think I wouldn't notice you were hoarding weapons?
I really like this moment because it's the ending to the family troubles between them. They finally communicate and identify the problem between them. Angela tries to remedy it by encouraging Glimmer on.
This was your father's staff. I think it's time you had it.
We have Angela learning to accept that restraining her daughter out of fear that she's going to lose her isn't the way to go, as she really can't stop her. This is just who Glimmer is. And that's why Angela hands Glimmer Micah's staff, so she can equip her with what she needs to be a successful leader in this, to accept the realities of this conflict and the risks it comes with. I would also like to point out that Angela knew about Glimmer's armory and did nothing to stop it. I have said before that Angela is not an overprotective mother, a protective one, sure, but not too much so. She made Glimmer a commander in her military, keeps sending her on missions without an escort, knowing full well that the first set of combat she's just gonna jump into battle. Angela is protective with Glimmer, but not to the point she was a helicopter parent. Now we get to the... I love the show, its characters and themes, and I wouldn't be putting this much time and effort into making these videos if I didn't like nor enjoy watching this. Yet being critical also involves recognizing and acknowledging the bad as well as the good. I've done this many times before with my nitpicks, but here I really do not care for the Battle of Bright Moon. It's a slow-paced mess with little flow to it. Bright Moon has been set up to be the heart of the rebellion, and if Catra can break the runestone there, then the Horde can gain access to some serious power from the Black Garnet thanks to Entrapta, while making Angela and Glimmer powerless, and Bright Moon is set up to be fighting alone with only Spinnerella and Natasa there to help, except the actual battle leaves much to be desired with how empty it all feels. As if Bright Moon doesn't have a home guard or military encampment just outside the place, like we saw in Ep 3. The Horde is said to have its entire army here, but it looks fairly small for the size of the Fright Zone. Not to mention the Horde makes some pretty nonsensical actions here. Like, this doesn't look like a massive military engagement to decide the fate of the rebellion that's been set up to be. It only has two highlights for me: the Catra and Adora fight, and when the princesses return. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on, because I really don't want to spend a lot of time bashing this battle beat for beat, and really I just want to talk about the parts I actually enjoyed. The Catra and Adora fight absolutely carries everything to this episode, for me at least. Adora immediately jumps down to assault the tanks firing at the Moonstone, telling everyone to just guard the castle. It's that hero complex coming up again. It's her destiny to maintain the out-of-balance harmony and protect her friends from harm. And doing so, isolates herself. And after she loses the sword, or I guess the shield right now, Catra decides to make her move against Adora.
Hey, Adora.
And what happens next just shows just how this rivalry has shifted.
I'm actually glad you did make it out of there alive, because now I can take you out myself.
The joy in Catra's tone when she says that and jumps at Adora is really a shot in the heart the first time I saw it. Catra had begun to fall far from where we wanted her to be, and the fight between them has gone from pulling their punches and, kind of knocking each other around to genuinely trying to inflict harm and kill the other. That blow could have instantly killed her old pal. And it continues on like this, with Adora smashing whole chunks of rocks off walls, and even grabs and slams Catra so hard, it cracks a wall. A clear sign of the escalation in their conflict, and creates a greater weight to current and future engagements between them. This is a fairly slow-paced fight, where Catra mostly just dodges and taunts Adora, but they also exchange words, and we get Catra's new motivation against Adora. When Catra says that none of this will be over until Bright Moon falls, darkness covers the world, and everyone sees how much of a failure Adora is. This is what I mean when I said Catra was beginning her descent into becoming a vengeful villain back in Ep 11. She wants Adora's friends to feel the same pain and abandonment Catra felt when Adora left, because Catra sees herself as being so casually replaced by those two, and she just wants to bring them down and thus hurt Adora through that way. She wants Adora to watch her entire world collapse around her like it did for Catra. And man, this whole engagement between them is so well written. Adora does end up grabbing Catra and pinning her to a wall, but Catra almost wins, not because she overpowered the magically enhanced Adora, but cleverly drew her away from the main battle for Bright Moon. Catra's plan for taking advantage of a disarmed Adora and luring away from the primary fight with taunts is another showcase of her clever side, because she knew taking on She-ra one-on-one wasn't liable to end with her winning, but she didn't need to win the duel.
That runestone is your last defense, isn't it?
Just the battle overall, and Catra gave up the impulse to get revenge on Adora to have her main forces completely focus on destroying the Moonstone.
What? Did you really think this was about you?
And divert nothing to aid in attacking Adora directly. The Moonstone and Angela get seriously threatened. Adora is still without her weapon and gets surrounded and pinned in place, and is only just able to be saved, then surrounded once more, and everything looks completely lost until backup arrives.
Don't do that.
Seahawk, now is not the time to be engaging in your favorite fetish. This is a war zone, man.
Sorry.
I liked the princesses returning here because it's the payoff to the work the main cast were trying to accomplish within the season, rebuilding the Princess Alliance. Even Frosta arrives, undoubtedly realizing after Princess Prom and the Horde disregarding the traditions of the event, plus the storm affecting all of the Runestone has caused her to realize that this is a situation she needs to get involved with and comes to help. They all defeat the Horde in a far quicker and far more entertaining spectacle than the majority of the Battle of Bright Moon was. No. Looking at the fun and the good, not the bad. Seahawk sets his new boat on fire. He did say no promises when Mr. gifted it to him. I also enjoyed how it was their unity of purpose that empowered the Moonstone, which in turn allows for Glimmer to regain her powers and beat back whatever Entrapta did to siphon power from them with the Black Garnet. It fits with the United We Stand idea this season was trying to push. Plus, it also fits with a slight change in the conflict next season, where the Horde used to be able to just roll in and attack places with only the Whispering Woods keeping them back, to the stalemate shifts to constant battles between the Alliance and the Horde. And speaking of the Horde,
seems your experiment has failed.
while Catra didn't take Bright Moon, her actions did lead to the Whispering Woods being crippled, and the Horde getting an expert on First One's technology, so in spite of the devastating loss,
You will have other chances to prove your worth to me as my second in command.
Catra is still on the rise, and was set up to be a serious antagonist in the next season. I like this season. The world building was very hit or miss, the character drama at times felt poorly handled, and the way everyone seemed to just give up after Entrapta's loss, plus how it seemed like Adora just keeps having to learn this lesson about her place in the rebellion and powers, not really working for me. I still quite enjoyed the bulk of this season, especially with how they handled Glimmer and Angela and the things between Catra, Adora, and Shadow Weaver. I think it was all nicely handled. Really, it's the characters and how they're handled that drew me into this show in the first place. As I said before, it's really the characters that are the meat and potatoes of this show. Plus, they do a lot of show don't tell, and I love dissecting scenes. All in all, it was a good season for what it was trying to do here, and I enjoyed most of it, even though I do have some complaints here and there. So that was episode 13 and the finale of season 1 of Overanalyzing She-ra and the Princesses of Power. If you like this video and want to see more, then hit that thumbs up and the subscribe button and then bell to get notifications about the next episode. I'll try to update this series every Thursday, so please share with other fans and check out my channel for my video essays, music analysis series, and complex character series. You might find them enjoyable as well.